But Lindsay, I want to talk about the Democrat Socialists of America. They are, and this is the best analysis I've said on the radio show. There's a ballpark, and there are those at the ball game. One team is the Republicans, and the other team is the Democrats, but they have players on their team known as the Democrat Socialists of America who are trying to tell the coach, hey, put us up at the batter's box, not the Dems, but us, the DSA, Democrat Socialists of America. And when they get on the ball field and they talk about affordability, just affordability, people aren't leaving the game. They want to know. I'm not saying they're buying to what they're having to say. They want to hear what they got to say. And then I think what happens is when they start talking about defunding ICE, defunding the police, let's let all the prisoners out. Let's build no more prisons. Let's defund the military. Let's defund the police. Let's allow all the illegal immigrants unfiltered into the U.S. People are like, screw this. I'm leaving the game. But if they just stuck with affordability, people would stick around. I'm not saying they would root for them, but they would stick around. Now, Lindsay, here's the question, and Matt, I want you to jump in on this one. Republicans' messaging sucks. Nobody buys into the one big beautiful bill. I think half we did a story. I mean, I'll support the tax cuts part of it, but nobody has been following this. The Americans for Prosperity, which I know very well, they came out with their analysis. Republicans are, when it goes down to enthusiasm, the Democrats are up higher. So, Lindsay, does this help the Republicans if you keep giving more rope to the Democrat Socialists of America because they don't know when to shut up?
They absolutely don't. Let them keep talking. It's great for our side. Whatever our side is at this point, I don't even know. But what I really am excited about them actually saying the quiet part out loud, which is, this is what we believe. This is who we are. We want free stuff, free stuff, free stuff. We want no... I mean, they were even talking about getting rid of the Supreme Court altogether, not packing the court, getting rid of the Supreme Court, getting rid of the executive branch, getting rid of Congress. I mean, that's full-blown anarchy. That's not even communist. That's anarchy.
But that doesn't resonate with people, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. But I agree. If they just stuck with the affordability issue, which capitalism is getting a bad rap for that, which this is not capitalism. Right. This is crony capitalism at its best. And so, that's what is really frustrating me, is that we're getting a bad name because of this. That's not even, what we believe in.
Matt, you're in Central Florida. UCF is a haven for liberalism. So is South Florida, USF, and other South Florida colleges. And I've told everybody,
don't forget Gainesville.
Yeah, what's that?
Don't forget Gainesville.
Don't forget. Yeah, well, it's not as bad as South. Well, you think Gainesville's that bad?
I think it's bad everywhere in academia.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm talking Florida universities. Maybe not. You certainly wouldn't see this crap at Florida State's. Excuse me, your Florida State Seminoles. Anyway, so what I'm getting at, Matt, you like that little, but Matt, some of my side are not taking the Democrat Socialists of America serious, and I've said this 100 times on my radio show. All they need to do is go to these universities and colleges, talk to the young people. Get them motivated, and these young people will outdo the Republicans and other Democrats. It's not difficult to get 100, 150 kids out there knocking on doors. People don't do enough research on the candidates, so they vote for whoever knocked on their door. I'm telling you, these Democrat Socialists of America, and by the way, in nonpartisan elections here in Florida, like school board, I've seen liberals get elected to Collier County, Lee County,
because there's no letter next to the name.
That's right. Yeah. So go ahead, Matt. What do you think? They can get these people elected in Florida.
Well, look at Maxwell Frost here in Orlando. Granted, Orlando's already Democrat, but he had no qualifications to be in office. He was the least qualified candidate in history. Literally, never had a real job. He was an Uber driver. I don't think he ever graduated from college. Which, whatever, but never had a real job. He never reported to an actual employer, and of course, he loves big government because now he's making six figures and has, a pension plan most people can only dream of. But the bigger point being that he was only 25 when he was elected. And it just goes to show you, like you just said, if you get those UCF students and Gen Z voters energized, even some of the younger millennials, that will be a huge factor now because so much of the greatest generation and boomers are now dying off, and they're no longer the largest voting bloc. They're very active, boomers are, but now you're seeing such a large portion of the overall voting bloc falling into that age that's disillusioned with politics with the way they are and and the cost of everything. And like Lindsay said, when you have corporate welfare going on, which is not capitalism,
that's right,
corporatism, now that's tainted the whole thing. And unfortunately, Trump has not helped that at all. If anything, he's made it look even worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was watching a clip, Lindsay, where, I mean, I'm a big fan of Fox News. And so they had Jessica Tarloff, but Jessica, I mean, she had a point the other day. I mean, I hate to agree with Democrats, but so Gutfeld and Jesse Waters, I like them both, but I'm going to be totally honest. I think they're Kool-Aid drinkers half the time with Trump, or more than half the time. And Tarloff brought up the conversation. She goes, wait a second. You accuse us of socialism. She goes, if Joe Biden, and I've said this 1,000 times on the radio show, if Joe Biden had bought shares of Intel through the government, NVIDIA, AI was what the Trump White House is doing, defense contract. We're not talking contracts. We're talking owning shares of government purchases in there. If the Democrats had done this, we would be crying foul. And I'm watching Gutfeld and Jesse Waters make excuses. Well, we've done this before. We did it with the banks and so it didn't make it right then. And Tarloff had a good point. She goes, she goes, again, if we did it, we'd have all sorts of, animosity from the conservatives. And unfortunately, my side does it, and we make excuses, Lindsay.
Well, I mean, I think with Fox News, unfortunately, they want to be buddy-buddy with the president and the whole White House. So they don't want to criticize. I mean, it's not in their benefit to do because they have access to the news all the time. They have access to the president. They have access to the chief of staff. They have access 24/7 if they play the right game. And that goes on both sides.
Yeah,
That's if Biden's in, excuse my term, but Biden's in bed with CNN, they're going to get the exclusive. That's great news. So I think that it's a conflict of interest. It also goes to show that it's really, really important to have an unbiased media, somebody that's fair-minded, somebody that's going to get, call out the good, the bad, and the ugly for both sides. Because frankly, it's important to do because neither side, Republican or Democrat, are ever going to be perfect, and they're never going to be all, like Republicans. There's so many things that they've messed up on over the years that tick me off. Right. But I still am a Republican. I still vote Republican.
Matt, I mean, she's right. I mean, the Republicans have no room to talk. Okay, I mean, I understand the Democrats' socialistic views are way deeper than the Republicans, but the Republicans got no room to talk. We just bailed out the farmers, for crying out loud. Hello, which shows the tariffs are not working. We bailed out the farmers. We're giving them money. We're sitting here giving out more money without any spending cuts. The White House is buying shares, owning production of these companies. And by the way, when the Democrats take over, because they've already gotten their hands into it, what do you think the Democrats are going to do? Republicans on my side, I mean, Larry Kudlow, former Trump economist, said the other day on Fox Business, he goes, it's big government socialism, but it's Republican style. So we do it lightly, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like with friends like these, who needs enemies? And unfortunately, the Democratic Socialist and just even the establishment Democrats know that the average American voter who doesn't follow politics closely is going to lump all this current economic mess in with what they think is fiscal conservatism, and it's not. But unfortunately, it's going to get that label when in reality, the whole time, this has just been Democrat light as far as economic policy. So where that leaves the rest of the party is they have to make a choice. Are we going to defy Trump and stand up for fiscal conservatism, or are we just going to go along? And we saw what happened with Thomas Massey, for example. When he stood up for fiscal conservatism, what happened? He was thrown to the side of the road.
I know.
And I know the reason his name comes up so much, unfortunately, is because he's the only one who was really doing that. Sometimes Rand Paul was, but more often than not, he wasn't. So,
we gotta get going here. But here's everybody. I know John Thune and Mike Johnson. We passed this housing bill, which is pretty much written by Liz Warren. Right. The president wants to put price controls on the RX drugs through the Inflation Reduction Act. I don't know many people know that. And yet, as much as we sit back and go, well, Johnson and Thune aren't doing their job, I will say this. When the president wants to use the bully pulpit to get what he wants, he really pushes pretty hard. Like you said, go after Tom Massey. He wants to pass the Save America Act, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But if we took the attitude of the piss offness, if I can use that word, how much we're ticked off and not getting things done. If the White House were to take the bully pulpit of going after other conservative Republicans and use that same type of fortitude to do about government cuts and government waste, we'd have a lot smoother economy going on.
But they won't, because what you're seeing from the White House is populism. And I'm not saying
it's socialism is what populist socialism.
It's watered down socialism. And if that's the way the Republican Party wants to go, so be it. But they're going to eventually lose enough fiscal conservatives where they're just not going to win any elections.
Yep.
Coming up next time, we're going to talk about the governor's race. OMG. It is Spin City out there. And we'll do it again. Thanks so much for watching. Again, like the YouTube page, subscribe to it, like it, and also everything you can read about, again, at floridadaily.com.